Welcome, moms. It is so good to be with you again on a Friday. We love this time to be able to get together and just talk about the things that are on our minds and on our hearts, share experiences, and connect more with each other. I love that. So, I don't know what it is that you want to talk about today. I've got ideas if you don't have any, but I love, and it seems to work out best when those ideas and the topics come from you. So I'd love to find out if there's any follow-up from the last couple of weeks' conversations, see if there's anything anybody wanted to report back about or share before we get started. And as always, I leave you some moments to think about that. We don't have to hop on right away, but if somebody has something that they'd love to share or start with, I'd love that. And if that doesn't happen, then I might have you, Lindsay, share your analogy from this morning, just as a heads up. But any feedback, any reporting back from the last couple of weeks? Oh, I do want to say I loved Carrie Dahl's little mini lesson for us last week about music and that music therapy. I'm so grateful to her for taking that time to share a little bit of that with us. I keep thinking about that and all the ways that music is such a blessing in our lives and all of the different age groups that it covers. You know, there's not one of us that's immune to the blessings and the healing that comes from music. So that was absolutely wonderful to learn those things. Okay, so if we don't have any other comments for right now, we're going to go ahead and go to you, Lindsay. I'm going to ask you if you don't mind. I mean, well, actually, I know you probably mind, but I'm going to ask you in spite of that, would you be willing to share just a little bit about that analogy that you shared this morning with us on Marco Polo?
Yes, I mind. And I apologize. I sound kind of like a dude. My allergies are horrible. So you get what you get. It was funny because I shared it on the small group one. If you noticed, this analogy came to me this morning, and it's been through a lot of prayer, just trying to figure out how I hear the Lord. And isn't it funny how when you finally figure it out and you're like, oh yeah, and the Lord's like, surprise, I've known it this whole way. I learned through analogies. I teach my kids through analogies. I don't know. I'm one of those give me an example kind of people. I love words. I love listening to the stories, but I want like meat and potatoes attached to it so I can really just delve into it. Sorry. I don't know what's going on out there, but and this Lori and Melissa had shared a Marco Polo, and they were just like, look at this amazing moon. Look how cool it is. And then Emily, who's not on today, she's up in Idaho. And so she's like, look at it from my angle. And I was just listening to it. And then this thought came to my mind of, you are the moon. You're just a reflective person of the sun, which, like I said, it may not be something awe-inspiring for all of you, but today it really just touched me of how he's called the sun for a reason. And that is why we also have the sun as the center of our universe. You know, it's the one that gives off the warmth and the light. And that's why he made the moon as just a reflective, portion of this universe. That's what we are doing. We're reflecting his light. And I'm butchering this, sorry. And I think so many times that we're always going, what can I do? What am I supposed to be doing? What am I supposed to be doing? But really, we're just supposed to be saying, how am I supposed to be showing his light? And when you look at the moon, I think when it is a full moon or a new moon, I think because it's so awe-inspiring at that time is because that's when it's fully reflecting the light. And it's not being overshadowed by the world, because that's the only thing that can block the light from the moon. And so that, to me, it took heart, because I'm like, how many times do I let the world overshadow the light? Mm-hmm. And how many times am I in the dark about certain things? Or And so that's just really where my heart has been today, of going, okay, how can I not be overshadowed and let the world get in the way? So on those, those dreary days, which I'm experiencing now, we've got a lot of rain and clouds today. I'm like, okay, when I tell myself I need to feel the sun, I need to feel the light, it's a little deeper now for me. It's not just physical. So that's where my brain is. Like I said, it wasn't as poignant, I'm sure, as for everybody, but for me, it really hit home today.
I love how that happens. I love how it happens over and over again that we come to our group either here or in person or in our Marco Polos, and we share something that just was so beautiful and huge for us because we finally had that concept kind of burned in us or something. But even though others aren't maybe jumping on and saying, oh my gosh, that's amazing, they're not maybe having that moment, those thoughts, those feelings, those ideas are planted in our hearts, and we can start thinking about those and seeing how those affect us. But I loved it because Melissa and I had shared that moon picture, and then I got a moon picture from Utah and a moon picture from Idaho, and it was just kind of cool to think, okay, we're all looking up into the sky and seeing the same thing, and seeing that reflection of the light. So then your analogy was perfect. I love it. And it also kind of suggests a lot less pressure on us. All we need to do is push the world away and let his light reflect. It's not us as much as we feel like it is, just letting ourselves be that source, or not the source, be that reflection. Let him work or shine or warm through us. Right. And I like that a lot, Lindsay. So I really appreciate that. Other thoughts about that? Anybody want to add to that? I love the imagery there. And Daisy, welcome. It's good to have you here. Daisy sneaks in when she can now that she's a grown up and has a real job and stuff like that. So but we miss you. We miss getting to see you sitting outside with your chickens.
Well, it's good to be here. And I loved that moon analogy. I'd never considered that before. And I think that nature always can teach us great things about Jesus Christ. I think that's the purpose of nature.
I love that. I think so too. I think we gain so much hope just from spending time out in nature, and we don't realize that until we get out there, and then we start getting some of those lessons and feeling that that God really is real and he really is here. And I think we all need that. We get ourselves shut up in our houses and work or whatever it is that we're doing, and we don't sometimes take enough time. We need a little boost to get ourselves outside. Yeah, Melissa. There she is.
I've had that moon thought before. And just the thought that there is only one source of light in our entire world, and that's it, because even fire energy comes from the sun. And I've thought, not so much of the moon, but when watching snow glitter, when snow glitters, or when you're on the water and the water sparkles, just that same thing, that it's not our job to shine, it's our job to reflect his shining. And just about how we can do that in different ways. And even if it's just a glint or a sparkle or or whatever, it catches the eye. When you're outside and something glints in the sun or sparkles or shimmers, it catches the eye. It draws attention to it. So just one little shimmer or sparkle or whatever. So that's why my kids are so good at finding money on the ground. So even if we're not doing it all the time, those glints and glimmers and sparkles and moments when we're really on point where we want to be do reflect that light and can catch other people's attention and lead them back to him.
I love it. And I love that you said it's not our job to shine because I think that's where we feel, okay, I'm not you know, I'm not worthy, you know, enough to shine. That's not me. I don't have enough, you know, you're not going to even see it. You know, it's a tiny little, barely a match flame or something, right? And it's, you don't have to worry about that. That's not your job. It's your job to reflect. I love that. Any other thoughts while we're here? I love it. And don't hesitate, because this is super friendly atmosphere. So Lindsay Bunting is here, but she's in the background because she is setting up for a tea party for some of our group. So for Laura and Lindsay's girls and some others. And so that's really fun. I love that that's happening. Any other thoughts while we're here? Just checking, you know, we can take some time. I want to go a little bit to, I was out yesterday for most of the day. Melissa and I got to spend a lot of time together, which was great. Melissa McCann. And that was wonderful. It was just fun to be able to be out with a friend and have all that time to chat and connect. I loved that. But I kind of forgot that it was St. Patrick's Day. And usually, well, the last 2 years on St. Patrick's Day, I've been trying to make sure that I get to share with somebody about St. Patrick. And I know Lindsay got to do that yesterday. So I'm hoping at some point she could share with us her experiences. But I'm wondering if anybody else did, if anyone else had that opportunity to share the why we really celebrate St. Patrick's Day. Not like there's a bar in town that, you know, it's like it's dead, it seems like, the rest of the year. And you drive by, I drove by it last night, and it's just crazy. Big giant balloon arch and speakers everywhere and a live band outside and blaring all the music, you know, because that's the day apparently. But what do you know about St. Patrick? Why do you love him? Do you love him? Do you appreciate him? Yeah, Linnell. Sorry.
I have a sister-in-law who has 4 kids and they go to public school, and she loves traditions. And so she shared with me some of her family traditions. They have the leprechaun and the golden coins and wear green and green milk and Lucky Charms, all of the really cute, fun ideas. And she asked me, what are your plans for St. Patrick's Day? How do you celebrate? Do you have any traditions? And so I shared with her that because of Well-Educated Heart, I take a cultural approach and a meaning approach to the way we celebrate holidays and learn about different cultures. And so I listened to a podcast about St. Patrick from Marlene, and I passed it on to her and I said, this is something I learned. I mean, this is something I did. I listened to it. I learned a lot. I think you should listen to it. And then she told me that because of me sharing the way that I was going to approach St. Patrick, it inspired her to do something similar, where she told her kids in the morning, when you come home from school, I'll have an activity ready for you, and we're going to learn about St. Patrick, and we're going to learn about Ireland. And it was really neat to see the light in her eyes. As she reported back, she listened to that podcast, she came back, she said, this was amazing. I didn't know so much of this. It even inspired me to go do my own research. And now I can't wait to teach my children. And so because of what I've been doing in Well-Educated Heart, it was so natural for me to just, well, first of all, I had resources to share with her. I could share with her music and crafts and food. I could share her some of the authentic tradition and culture. And then to see her really like just get excited, I felt that was kind of what we've been talking about, is support moms, teach what we know, help them to catch this fire as well. So without teaching her any real specifics about Marlene and about the whole structure of everything we do, I was able to give her bits and pieces, and I think it was a success.
Thank you. I love that. That's a great example. And it kind of shows us how it's just an easy way. We don't have to have figured out, okay, wait, how do I explain Well-Educated Heart in a nutshell? Because you can't, right? You just share one little part. You share one cultural experience, one little something. I loved that. There is in the rotation under Ireland in Great Lives, there's a recording that Marlene has about St. Patrick. So I wonder if that's what Linnell shared, and if not, Linnell might have gone off camera to get the link, because I know she's helpful in that way. But I love that you just share one little thing, just share a little resource. And I loved also what you said, Linnell, because of Well Educated Heart, I have these resources. Oh, thank you, Cadence. Is that the one, Linnell? Cadence just shared a link. And Cadence, I was going to ask you to come on, if you don't mind, if you can, and share a little bit of what you did with your kids, just to have that angle, that side of it. I love to look up your account and see what you're doing with your kids, because I love it. I miss that so much. I miss that time of just playing with my kids and doing all those fun things. I've decided now that I'm meeting with these young girls, because we just added 2 more. So I have 3 young girls that I get to meet with now and mentor kind of. And start well, they already know Well Educated Hearts because their moms do it, but being another person in their lives to kind of help support and kind of underline that. Anyway, but it's fun to get to think about, I'm going to get to do some of those activities and stuff. So I'm going to follow Cadence, I think. Okay, sorry, sweetie.
Oh, that's all right. We did, well, I did a bunch of cooking, but we watched, while I was doing it, we watched something on the life of St. Patrick, and it kind of had some people acting out the story. And I'd watched it last year, but I'd forgotten about it. And so it was awesome to hear the story again and just be inspired that God can change, that he can make good out of anything, out of a bad situation. And that just one person can make such a huge difference. And he helped out an entire country come to Christ. So we made split pea soup. We were just looking for anything green. And I've been trying to eat more real foods. So we skipped the food dye this year, but we did, we had just salad and just other green things. And I made split pea soup and a smoothie. Yeah, we made like a green color smoothie. Yeah, we had muffins. Those weren't green, but yeah.
Yum.
That's kind of what we did.
I love that your kids get to experience this. And so they're aware of these things because you make it more of an event. And so it's something that stands out in their minds, because they have other things to connect it to. But it's amazing to me how much just stories make a difference. Telling a story, and those stories will stick with us. I continue to be amazed by that. So Lindsay, are you by any chance, do you have a minute to share about your experience yesterday? Lindsay Bunting at Outsiders. And if you don't yet.
Let's see. Yeah, I can share real quick. Let me know if I cut out when I go outside. Yeah, so at Outsiders, I had like the littler kids. So I had, they were like 8, 9. They were so cute. So that they're hard to hold their attention, a whole group of them, because they get together and they get all excited. And so I was kind of telling a story, trying to think of how it all went. And then after the story, I was telling how much I loved St. Patrick and what he did for the country of Ireland, and shared the things I had learned through Well Educated Heart, and that he was captured by pirates and was a slave. And then he wanted to share the message of Christ with the people of Ireland, and nobody would listen. And then he shared it with the mothers, and how that the mothers taught their children and shared it with their husbands, and then it spread, because we were talking about momentum was like my assigned lesson. And I thought, so it was hard at first for him, but then once he shared it with the mothers, it gained momentum, and it just took off, and the whole country is now a Christian country, and they all know of Christ. And anyway, then I just was like, nobody's really listening to me. Like, there were a couple of kids that were looking at me, and one of the boys, he's got like a mullet, like he's just like a funny kid. And I did not think he was listening at all. And he was like, I heard you. And he spouted out the whole thing, like exactly how I had said it. And it was so cute to hear him and be like, and he taught the mothers, and then the mothers taught their children's, and then they all knew about God. And he was just like, he knew it. It was so cute. And I thought he can go home and share this with his family. And anyway, it was just a sweet little moment of like, you knew you got through to somebody and shared through a story.
I love it. I love it. And thank you. I know you're busy and I know you're trying to set up that party, but hey, Ruby girl. Do you have a minute to share one more thing? Because you also shared that you'll be out there doing the lessons, teaching the lessons, but then when you introduce a picture or a story, something happens.
Are you gonna let the butter inside melt? I mean,
Oh, can you go turn the stove off? Yeah. It's a good thing. Max is keeping an eye on the
Sorry.
stove. I was like, I'll just walk away from this.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so like I said, the story was about momentum. And so it only takes 5-10 minutes to talk about momentum with these kids. And then I thought, how else can I tie it in? And I had brought my book of delights, and I've tied in stories and poems in there each week about trying to tie it into the lesson. Yesterday, I just had this thought, like, this doesn't tie in at all, but we're going to talk about birds. And I just brought it up. I'm like, I have a nest in my backyard with a mama dove and these 2 baby doves. And oh my goodness, the kids were all like, all of their hands shot up and they were like, there's baby birds in my backyard too. Oh, we have baby chicks. Oh, I saw these baby ducks. And they were just like, I couldn't even contain the excitement. They just blew up and it was so cute. And then I went around with the picture from my book of delights with the mama ducks and the baby ducks, and showed it to all the kids and was like, what do you think the mama duck is doing? And they all had stories about it. Like, she's yelling at the other mama ducks and stay away from her babies. And she's doing this. And then they saw but there was another picture on the other side. And they're like, is that a turkey? Like, what, they just like had so many questions and were so excited. And it just went, and then I skipped to the next page after they calmed down from that a little bit. And I was like, oh, I found this poem and it reminds me of the doves in my backyard because they're flying away and they're learning to fly. And the poem in there was about how they want to fly away. And the mama bird's like, no, just rest a little bit till your wings are stronger, then you can fly away. And I was telling them how they had, they fly to the fence and then they come back and they fly to the ground and they come back and they're just testing out their wings to see how strong they are. It just it goes so much better when we just naturally talk about these beautiful things that they're familiar with rather than trying to force a lesson on them about, something that everybody's supposed to be learning that day or something. So anyway, it was just a sweet day with these little kids. I loved it.
I think that's so great. I loved when you shared that because there is something magical about bringing just something real to children. They love it. Nature, stories, beautiful pictures, those things work magic, and they do for us too, but we forget that.
Yep.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing. You're very sweet. How's the tea party prep going?
Good. I'm getting our cucumber sandwiches ready and our Rice Krispie treats, and
I love it.
everything's all decorated and we're ready. And they're
We'd love to see it if that's, if you have a minute to show us at some point, we'd love to see your setup.
Yeah, we don't have the table set up yet because the boys are still here. So we didn't want to get too messed up, but I think they're getting ready to go. And then I was going to wait till each girl gets here because I have a whole cabinet of old teacups and the little matching saucers. And so as they come in, I'm going to have them go pick out their teacup and then take it to the table.
I already picked out my teacup.
Yeah.
Nice. I love
Ruby got
that.
First pick.
Yeah, so it gets last pick.
But you got first pick. You're lucky, Ruby. That's awesome. Yeah. I love it. How fun. Oh,
yeah, but I'll show you as we set up.
Okay, thank you. We have pictures of a dragonfly and a spider. I love that. I love picture books and I love to see books with nature in them. Yeah, that one is awesome. I had one up here the other day. I thought it was still here. I was going to show you, but it's called The Very Quiet Cricket. How many of you know the book, The Very Quiet Cricket? I love that book. Yeah, that was one of my favorite ones to tell. I could do that one in my sleep, I think. I loved it. Our little cricket sound doesn't work anymore. Does yours still work? Anybody? I just love that book. It's so much fun. It's just kind of magical. Okay, so isn't that fun to see how simple and easy it is to make magic happen in your life, in somebody else's life? Just share something significant, something, it can be really small, but just a nice, pleasant thought or a beautiful thing. You can share that and see really something kind of sweet happen. It doesn't have to be giant. You don't have to have some huge result, just a little tiny seed planted, a little bit of sunshine, a little glint, a little glimmer. I liked that, Melissa. Melissa's still here. I really loved that idea of thinking about the snow and the water and just those little glints that you catch. And if we're just that's significant. That makes a difference. It can make a difference in somebody else's life. Have you seen or received that kind of light from somebody? If you're feeling a little down and there's somebody, a friend, someone does just a little something, and it was just enough to make a difference, and you felt it, and you felt kind of like, okay, I can do this. You felt a little better. You felt a little, I don't know, a little relieved, maybe a little bit of lifting, or maybe you were able to provide that to somebody else. We can do it. It happens all the time. And then there are so many situations where it doesn't happen because we're being afraid that our whatever it is we have to bring isn't big enough. I hope we're kind of getting this idea that we just need to bring ourselves and say, okay, I'm here. What can I do? How do you want to use me? What do you need me to do? Oh, smile. Okay, I can do that, or, go and send a little text message to a friend. Oh, I could do that. What kinds of things have you done recently where you've responded to the Spirit and done a thing that maybe you do or you don't know the result of that thing, but you did it anyway. You went ahead and followed the prompting and did that thing. I think it's important to remember that we get to share those things with each other. It's not the world would say, oh, that's bragging. You don't share these things. You don't share your successes. That would be, oh, people are going to think you're weird. No, we're learning here with each other that this is so good to share our wins, our positive moments with each other, because it's motivating, it's encouraging, it's inspiring. Linnell.
I have two examples from this past week where I acted on a prompting, and both were kind of scary. One was to call an aunt, and my mom's sister recently passed away, and one of my regrets is that I didn't have a strong relationship or a connection with her. And so after her passing, I determined to do better with those aunts who are still living. Awesome. And I wanted to make more of an effort to keep in touch with them and connect with them. And it's scary because I don't have a relationship with them. And so I had a thought to call one of my aunties up, and she lives in Hawaii, and it's a 5-hour time difference. So I'm always worried that I'm going to wake them up or interfere with something. I don't know what their schedule is. There's a lot of insecurities that I feel about doing this, but I received the prompting, and so I acted on it in spite of all of my fears. And the conversation that I had with her was exactly what I needed. She actually had me in tears because of some of the things that she said to me that really pierced my heart. And it was a tender mercy. And so what I learned from that is when we act on promptings that we receive, sometimes they're for our good. I thought I was calling her to help her or to reach out to her and kind of share my light with her, but she ended up sharing her light with me. And then the other was to invite my across the street neighbor over for dinner. And that was scary because I've never had them in our home. They're approaching 80. We shovel their driveway, but we don't talk much with them. They've never invited us to their home. And our first experience with him, when we first moved in, we walked across the street. We wanted to meet him. We brought the family. We brought some chocolates from Hawaii, and we said, we're your neighbors. We have some chocolates for you. And he said, no, thanks. Like, he rejected my Hawaiian chocolates. And that was like, oh, okay. But that's how our friendship started. And so I've always been kind of unsure how to interact with him. And so it's Monty and Lucille, husband and wife, almost 80 years old. And so I invited them over for dinner, and we made Irish beef stew and Irish soda bread, and I've never made that before. And I didn't know how it was going to turn out. So I didn't know if my food was even going to taste good enough to have them over. But we had them over, and Monty, the husband, spoke 3 hours straight. I think he just needed someone to talk to. He needed someone to listen to him. And at the end of the night, he's very complimentary. He said, "You guys are great hosts. This was wonderful. This was so great. Thank you so much." He just loved his evening. And that was just because we invited him over, shared a meal, and listened to him. So I think sometimes we can be a light and we can be a blessing to others when we just listen. But I've always learned that when I act on a prompting, things always happen for the best.
I love that. And it's how many times when you do respond to a prompting, it seems like almost every time it's scary. Like it's rarely ever something that's just super easy to do. I guess sometimes it's easy, but often it'll be something scary. I love those examples. I want to see what Kaden said. Linnell, that reminds me that yesterday we stopped by our neighbor's house. She's a little old Irish lady who is so cheerful, and we wished her a happy day and showed her our green. I love that, Cadence. That's really sweet. And that was probably so nice for her to have that little impromptu visit and that reminder, and to see the kids. I love that. Thank you. But Linnell, you were brave in doing that. And I love that your situation with your with your aunt, with your auntie, and I love that you call them your aunties, that turned out so well. And isn't that true that so often when we think, oh, we're gonna bring something to another person, they bring something to us. So, and I love this conversation over here. Linnell saying to Cadence, maybe someday you can have her over for dinner. And Cadence said, shared, she has a cute dog named Patty Boy. That's really cute. I love it. My mom just took home my book, my big like coffee table book on Ireland, because she has been reading some things on the Well-Educated Heart page. She's not sure. She only knows how to see things that come up. She doesn't know how to like search things, find things. So if it comes up and she gets to read it, she's so excited. And she loves seeing all these different moms that are posting about their families and what they're doing, and the good that they're looking for and trying to read about and learn about. So she was inspired by something she learned about Ireland. And so she wanted to borrow my book so she could learn more about Ireland. So I thought that was really cool. I love that. It's really interesting to me because this past week, after we talked about having real conversations, not just small talk, polite conversation, we talked about that last week or the week before. That topic has come up a few times just in my conversations with other people. They've commented about how they're tired of just the small talk and wish that they could really connect with somebody. And I wonder how many people feel that way. I wonder how many people around each one of us would really love to have a real conversation. It even came up during my daughter's baby shower on Saturday, because she has a friend who popped into the shower and they got to chat for a few minutes before we started. And she said, she asked me so many real questions. And I love that about her. I love that she doesn't just ask all the things that we usually ask, because we're trying to be kind and polite and, and be involved and engaged and ask some of the things. But this friend got more in depth. And so I decided I'm going to go and meet with that friend, because she's a friend of mine too, and just talk with her and tell her, I love that you know how to do this, because she does this. She's always like this. She has real conversations with people. And I think in fact, there are times when I've been almost, I don't know, she'll ask questions and I think, wow, I've never even thought of that before. I don't have an answer to that maybe. But, and I think before my heart was more warmed, that was probably a little bit terrifying for me. I saw the nose. That was maybe a little bit terrifying for me to ask or to think of answering a question like that because I never thought of it. So I didn't have anything like the beginnings of an answer to that. But now I love those kinds of questions where you're really getting to know somebody. I think that's so neat. So, other experiences responding to promptings, other experiences having real conversations with somebody, even if it's short. Have you thought of some questions, some comments, some ways to engage a person? No, Sandy, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, so I have a friend, an acquaintance, like we're not super close or anything, but she lost her husband the other day.
Oh.
And I've never lost anyone super close, and so it's difficult to know what to do, what to say, or those kind of things. But I felt like she really needed some support. And so I volunteered to come over and kind of help her with her kids, like in the afternoons playing with them or whatever. And I'm good with kids, like I can do kids. And one time I had volunteered to go, well, I had said I'd come over. And when I got there, she's like, well, we really don't need help with that today, but that's okay. And ended up staying for an hour because she was talking to me and, crying. And I was, able to help. Like, I didn't know what to say. And I was just going in, Heavenly Father, help me know what to do and say. And I actually don't think that he really inspired me with anything to say, except that I was there and I was listening. And maybe that's what she needed, and so, but I helped her with meals. I helped her make one of her son's birthday cakes that was like right around that time too, and she was struggling with everything, so it was a good experience.
Oh, I love that. I love when we have those kinds of opportunities and perhaps like you said, you don't even know really what you can do, but you're willing to show up. And once you show up, you can figure out, okay, these are some things I can do. This is how I can help. I love that. Thanks for sharing that, Sandy. That's so sweet. I can only imagine what that must be to have that kind of support from people around you. Other ideas, other examples, real connections, real conversations, responding to the Spirit. Don't worry if you think, well, I have something, but I don't know if it fits into those categories that Lori just suggested. Don't worry about that. Share what's on your heart. Share what you're thinking or feeling. We want to hear it.
I'll share.
Thank you.
So I have a friend that we met here. She and her family lived here for a short time, and we got to be good friends. And then they moved back to Utah. And she is one that is really great at connection. She remembers, I don't know how she does it, but she remembers birthdays, she remembers significant events, and she always, I can count on getting a card in the mail from her all the time for whatever. Hi, bud. She texts for my kids' birthdays, tell Caden happy birthday, or whatever it is. She's one that's really good at making people feel special. I mean, even when they were traveling, well, they were living in Switzerland for a while they were studying abroad. Her husband was studying abroad, and as they were traveling, she would send postcards. I mean, she had all 4 of her kids with her, and she's busy and trying to keep track of them and keep them up with their studies and things, and yet she finds the time to make that connection and to make her friends feel. And I know I'm not the only one she does it for. She just is really good. And so I've learned from her example that to make note of those dates, to reach out to, even though we don't talk every day and we don't see each other and we don't live in the same town anymore, she is really good about keeping that connection.
I love when we have people like that can be examples for us and help us learn how to do that. So have you started to, is that something you're kind of doing? You're following in the ways that you can and the ways that work for your personality?
Yeah, definitely. It's something that's like I've started making notes of birthdays and significant events and trying to reach out to friends and family because it's not something that comes naturally for me. And so, but I know how it makes me feel. And so I want to in turn do that for the people that I love.
I think that's really good to think about that, to think about the things that do make you feel good and then see if there are ways that within your own personality, using your own strengths and gifts, if you can find ways to do that for somebody else. I love that. Thanks for sharing that. Oh, one of my sisters-in-laws, she's the one that sends birthday cards, to all the nieces and nephews. And multiple years I've started that. And so only the January, February nieces and nephews have ever received birthday cards from me. I'm like, sorry, everybody else. So one year I sent in January all the cards for all the nieces and nephews and just was like, here's your cards for the year, because I'm going to forget and I don't want you to feel like I don't care about you. Anyway,
I started putting reminders in my phone. So it's like something that pops up on the calendar a few days before or whatever. It's like, send this card out. So I get it there in time, because otherwise it's gone.
Yeah, that's a good idea though, to know, okay, I'm not going to remember this on my own. I need to set up a system to help me remember that.
Yep.
Yeah, that's good. But my kids love that. And I love it. When I get a card in the mail, I love that, just that, or somebody making note of something and just sending me a message or something because they remember, something significant between the two of us or something in my life or whatever. I love that. Okay, 7, let's see. Do you have lots of background noise? Is that why you're sharing? You're so funny. I remember last week and I thought you just meant you couldn't unmute, but you couldn't unmute because you had stuff going on. Okay, yes. So I'll go ahead and read this. So 7 shares, I shared Well-Educated Heart with a friend of mine who took her 4-year-old son to my house to learn Chinese. Oh, very cool. And it was great and definitely easier than it seems. I also have an experience where I had a real conversation with a friend, even just through messages. Yeah, it's amazing how that's possible, isn't it? She just had a new baby, and that definitely brought changes to her life. We just messaged back and forth when she had a few minutes of free time. So it doesn't take a whole lot, does it? There can just be small and simple things that fit into your daily routine, or you just maybe have to be a little bit open, share a little bit, maybe it's a little bit less convenient. But like with Linnell and her family, while that was scary and and very brave, I think, to invite somebody over for dinner, especially for recipes that you hadn't tried out before and you weren't sure how that was going to work out. But you're having dinner anyway, setting a couple of extra plates, when it comes down to it, just the logistics of it, that's not that bad. It's just you're worrying, the fearful anticipation of what could go wrong. It's all that stuff that, yes. And after they rejected her chocolates, that's so funny. They don't like macadamia nuts or what? I don't, they just were hesitant at first.
I will add though that they came over with a bottle of wine and they said, I don't know if you drink this, but I brought this. And I was like, I'm sorry, we don't. So I said that we're even then.
There we
like,
go.
he rejected my chocolates, I reject his wine. Okay, we're good. I can let it go.
That's so funny. But I love that you were open to it, anyway. And I love that you did it. Well, so now Melissa McCann has a little experience because she has a friend that lives near her that she had invited over for dinner. So, and then things changed. Melissa, are you willing to share just real quickly that experience?
Yeah. So there's a sister from church that lives just about 2 apartments down from me, and we text each other back and forth, but she's starting to go blind, and she also has a cognitive disability, and people dismiss her a lot. She tells me that people don't ever let her finish and they're always interrupting her because they think that she doesn't understand. But I'm really patient with her and I just listen. And I went down to her house. We text a lot, but I hadn't been going down to see her. And I just got this prompting that I need to make the effort to go down and see her in person. And I have become really isolated and I don't really leave my house or see a lot of people. So that was a big deal for me to leave and go outside and go down and visit her. But I just really felt that I needed to go down and see her in person. And so I just went down to her place, and when I went down and was visiting with her, she just started opening up, and she started telling me about all kinds of stuff. She opened up about something really personal that had happened to her, and she was just in tears and shared all this stuff with me. And like how you other ladies were saying, she just needed someone to listen. And I learned so much about her. I had no idea that those things had happened to her. And so and then I've also invited her over to watch movies with us, and I wanted to invite her over for a family home evening now. So it's just been nice to make that friendship and have that friendship grow stronger, because she's over there all by herself and she needs somebody, and I'm in my apartment all by myself and I need somebody. So I just needed to reach out.
I love that. And often that's just what it takes, is just that willingness to make that first step. And I love that you did that, Melissa, and how wonderful for Julie. I think that's great. Okay, we are getting close to the end, my friends. Any other thoughts? Any other things you'd like to share? We definitely have like 5 more minutes, and then we'll turn it over to Linnell. So I'd love to hear from you. I would love to hear anything else. And if you've shared already today, that doesn't mean you don't get to share again. We get as many times as we want before the timer goes off. It's not really a timer, but. And I see Laura's friend Claudia is here. Claudia, we're so happy that you're here. I'm glad that worked out. We love having new moms. Just add to our friendships. And normally we have a lot more moms on camera. Today, I think, is just must be a crazy day for some of the families. So things are going on in the background, and I totally get that. But it is really fun to look around and see your friends, see them in their homes, doing what they're doing. And we've talked about this, but I think it's kind of interesting that this Zoom communication or Marco Polo communication is kind of good for that, because we get to be in each other's homes, in a way. And that's one of the ways that we make better connections with people, is being able to see them in their environments. I mean, we get to be in Lindsay Watkins' bedroom. So, oh, it's not your bedroom? Oh, I thought it was your bedroom. Oh, that was my great line. All right, fine. Somebody show me your bedroom so that I'm in a bedroom. I'm in a bedroom. You're in a bedroom. There we go. It's my visionary son's bedroom. But so is that an office or something, Lindsay? Guest bedroom?
It's my guest bedroom, but my office is okay. So it's my guest bedroom / homeschool crap catcher / my office. So
there we go. But
we
it's
have
nice.
people stay in our guest room like twice a year at the most, and it was just kind of a non-usable room. And so I told my husband, I'm like, I need you to build me a desk. And so he did. And so I just put it in here so I can use it, but it's not so cluttered. Usually when people come, I hide everything. So
no, that's awesome. I love
it. Just made it a usable room, which was nice. So
right. All right, fine. So we're in your guest bedroom. But it's nice. It's just kind of fun to see a little bit about each other's personal lives and feel another layer of connection. So
I know I keep trying to like get close to the camera to see what's on Amber's shelves. I'm like, what is she reading?
I know.
Turn off your camera and look really close. Just kidding.
I know, it is really. I want to know what the books are with the pictures that are right behind you. The other direction. Yeah, those right there. I love that. What's the picture that's?
Which one were you looking
Is it
at?
Delaire's?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I'm seeing. Okay.
Yeah.
Which one is that?
That one is George Washington.
Oh yeah. Okay.
Yeah,
I knew that's
American history.
yes. Okay, wonderful. And so you put kind of showcase some of the books that you guys are working in currently?
Yeah, so on this side is like all of our space science. So the unit studies and things that I do with the kids, I try and leave some of the books out because I find that if I read them once and put them away, then they kind of get forgotten. The story gets forgotten. But if I leave them out, like this guy right here, he'll wander over, pick up a book, and then he sits down and he reads it again and again.
Right. So what is this book about? Is that one that you like?
It's Mae Jemison.
And who's Mae Jemison?
She's someone that oh, hold on.
Remember she was an astronaut?
Yeah, she was a little African American girl that wanted to be a scientist in the school. Most people didn't believe that. And when she was 8, she got in the car and somehow hit the gas and turned the car on and hit 2 other vehicles while her mom was getting groceries.
Yep. She was.
Wow.
Yeah.
She learned a little bit about acceleration.
Right.
And her whole family was like science, and she did dance. She went on a school camping trip. She went to the library and got like a million books. She went to college and she went to a chemical engineering university in Stanford. She sewed, she played basketball, she read a lot. She went somewhere, she went to
Sierra Leone.
Sierra Leone, Liberia, in Africa, and then she went to Hudson, and she became an astronaut, and yeah.
I am so happy that you shared that because I didn't know about her. So thank you so much. That was great. That was great. And some of the other moms were so interested in that book. They asked about it in the chats, and one of the moms shared how we could see that book. So thanks, buddy. Thanks for sharing that with us.
Yeah, that's a good one. We enjoy that one a lot. She's a fascinating woman. So
that is so great.
So while I'm on here, I have a question. So Well-Educated Heart is kind of a brand new concept to me, and I'm jumping in. So I would really love to hear, if anybody would share, how you all got into it and how you incorporate it in your homes. And I know we only have like just a few minutes, so maybe we can touch on it another time. But for me, I'm just kind of sifting through it all and really trying to figure out, really dive into all of the concepts and really just kind of let it take hold and understand it, I guess. So I'd love to hear.
Absolutely. And what we'll do is, because there are Marco Polo groups that are, they are 6 weeks long, and they go through the introductory course. And so you talk about each of the 6 areas in the introductory course. And I would be happy to start one with you if you are interested.
Would love it.
And then we'll just find a couple more moms that want to do that.
Sure. Would love
that.
So
would that be good?
Yeah.
Okay. So make sure I have your contact info. Are we friends on Facebook?
I'm rarely on Facebook, but I can get on there. I think we emailed initially.
Okay, so oh, that's right. So message me again and get me your just so that I see it again. It's right there, and I'll add you on Marco Polo, and we'll start a group because that would be awesome. And we may have a minute to talk about it afterwards, but I'm going to go to Melissa and then back to that. I love that you asked that because we all love sharing Well-Educated Heart, so none of us are going to be hesitant to do that.
Thank you.
So thank you. Sure, Melissa.
I just wanted to share, I've had a thought this week, kind of just in the back of my head. And I was at a meeting and the thought went through my head, I have the faith to move mountains, but do I have the faith to move me? And as I've been pondering on that, this discussion today has so many moms talking about the way they're moving forward in their own lives with their families and friendships and different things like that. And I love how Mothers of Influence is part of that pondering, part of how to move forward in life instead of being stuck in the grind or whatnot. And so I have loved everything you guys have shared today. And as I've been having that thought run through my head. So I just wanted to thank everybody for that.
Melissa, you are so sweet. I love that. And I love that thought. I have the faith to move mountains, but do I have the faith to move me? And it's so important. Mothers of Influence is such a vital part of our lives because we can see ourselves better through each other. We can watch each other and be inspired and get great ideas in watching each other. We can see that a thing can be done. We can watch it happen step by step through each other's, lives and examples. I just love it. I love Well-Educated Heart and Mothers of Influence and how they go together. I have been blessed by it. And as we have said in multiple conversations here and in smaller groups, Well-Educated Heart has changed us, and it has helped us to be more receptive to the good things that have come into our lives. And we're accepting more, we're receiving more from those good things because of Well-Educated Heart. And I love it. It's just been such a blessing. Okay, we're going to go to Linnell and then we'll take a few minutes. Hi, buddy. We'll take a few minutes and talk just a little bit with Amber about Well-Educated Heart. Linnell.
I'm going to let you in on a little secret. And that is, I don't really know how I ended up being the wrapper-upper. It kind of happened. But my personality and my tendency is to prepare something in my mind. As I'm listening to the conversation, I'm kind of creating what I'm going to say. And I'm thinking about something else that I can share at the end of the meeting. But this past week during a book club with my brother and sister, we had a conversation about listening. And I realized that if I'm thinking about what I'm going to say, that's not good listening. And if I'm constantly having a conversation with someone and trying to create my response before the time comes, then I'm not listening well. So I made a commitment to them that I would practice this week not preparing what I'm going to say. And that has me really nervous right now because I always prepare ahead. I always know exactly what I'm going to say. And I always have chosen an experience or a poem or a story and it's ready to go. But today I didn't prepare anything. I just listened. And the whole point of this exercise was to just see, okay, what's going to come out. And it's kind of trying to use myself as a conduit, the Spirit, instead of it being me sharing what I know and what I've experienced, just leave my heart open to speak words that the Spirit puts into my mouth. And that's scary. I have to be so brave to do that because I feel like, well, what if I have no idea what to say? What if nothing comes to my mind? What if what I say isn't what people need to hear? And sometimes I feel that pressure, like I've got to say the perfect thing to wrap up, or I've got to say the perfect thing to touch someone's heart. And so I'm thinking about me and I'm focusing on what I'm saying. And I want to change that. I want to practice and I want to work on not being me. And I think that kind of goes along with what Lindsay shared. And I guess this is what it's all about. These aren't my words. That I didn't prepare anything to share with you today. But if I have my heart open, and if I think like I'm the moon, like Lindsay shared with us, then I can reflect the light of the Savior. And that's what I'm going to practice this week.
I love that. That is beautiful. And that's so sweet. Your husband's so cute. I love seeing you guys. That is really beautiful. Thank you. And that's important, isn't it? But it is scary. It is so scary to put ourselves out there. And at the same time, once we do it, then we realize, oh, like Lindsay Watkins said, we just make sure that the world's not shadowing, putting too great of a shadow on us. That's something we can work on and do. But the other thing is we just are here. We're just here for that light to be able to reflect from us. I love this. I love this discussion. I love these thoughts. It's just beautiful. So Lindsay Watkins, thank you for getting us started. And Linnell, thank you for wrapping it up in such a beautiful way. This is so good to be together. I absolutely love it. So for this part of our discussion, we are done, and we're gonna adjourn this part till next Friday. We'll get to talk again. I'm really excited about that. And it's just so good to be getting together. And just pray for me that this week I actually can find some hours to sit down and get the editing done and catch up, because there are so many beautiful recordings that need to be put up on the YouTube channels, because we have moms who that's the only way they watch them. And so I really need to get that done. So if you guys will pray for me so that I can find those hours, because they were not here this week, that would be good. I appreciate that. And then for those of you that want to stay for a few minutes, we'll talk a little bit about the well-educated heart. So thanks for being here. That's just so I have an ending cut part. And then if we decide to put this conversation as a recording on Mothers of Influence or something, we can. So I'll leave it running. But for those of you who are willing to share a little bit about how you came to find Well-Educated Heart, how it's changed you, how you've used it, if you could share a little bit of that with Amber, that'd be great. So we'll have to fight for first speaker.
Don't try to do it all at first. Just do a little bit. It's a lot. And if you look at the rotation and you're like, how am I going to fit all of that into a month? Don't even try. I'm still just trying to piece in parts of it. It is a lot. So don't let it overwhelm you, because you're going to look at that rotation and then you're going to see the book list and it's going to be huge. Cadence is laughing because she's like, I know. So just take it little by little, just add a little here and a little there, and it will continue to grow.
That's great advice. Okay. Who else? Cadence, I know you've been doing this for 3 years. 3 years, 4 years? I don't know.
I don't know. I feel like I'm still learning also. Hold on.
But isn't that the point? Isn't
that is the
we're
point.
Still...
And it is so funny, because when I first got on, I was like, I just don't know as much as all of you, and I feel like I'm just starting. But I mean, isn't that all of us? That's all of us. I've been doing this for a while, and I've kind of changed up how I do it as I go along. But the main thing that I'm learning is that at first I was focusing a lot on what my kids are doing, but now I've been focusing more on what I'm doing. And then because I'll be super excited about something and I'll want to do a project or something, but then when I try to get my kids to do it, sometimes there's this resistance. And so I've been just, okay, if I want to do it, then I'm going to do it. And then they see me doing it and then they're interested in it. And so, and I would say that that's been in the last 6 months that I've been trying to do that approach. Before, and I still do things where I plan a bunch of stuff to do with them, but it's really for me now. And like today, I was sitting reading this really old encyclopedia because I just wanted to use it because I have it. So I opened it and I started reading about this place called Alsborg in Denmark. And I was reading about it in the super old thing. And then I looked it up on the internet and I was looking at all these pictures and there's this castle. It just flows, all these interesting things to learn about. And so of course I'll tell my kids later about it, but now I'm rambling. I don't know where I'm going. But the point is, rabbit trails are great. And I love that Well-Educated Heart provides this framework so that you can find all sorts of interesting things. And then you can take in any direction that you're interested in. And I love the resources. I really like that she made that it's this printable thing where it has all the stories from each thing. That has helped me so much because I wouldn't know where things were. And I like to have a physical copy of something to be like, oh, I'm interested in this and this and this for the month. I'm really rambling now, but hopefully this is helpful.
No, it's great. It's great. And I love that you've been doing this for years now. And 6 months ago, you finally grabbed onto that thing that Marlene says over and over again. It's for you. It's for you. Do it for you. We have such a hard time grasping that concept that it really is effective that way.
Yeah. But even before that, it has been this joyful process because
Yeah.
there's no more, okay, I have to teach them and then test them and then do this. It's not like that. It's just pure joy. I mean, there's a lot of other things going on, but that's just what comes with homeschooling. You know, there's a lot of parenting. And so, but this is, I just love the joy of learning new things. I've always loved learning new things. And I feel like I got my life back. I mean, after college and then having babies, I just felt like I was just going through the motions, trying to get everyone fed and do all these things. And now it's like every day there's something new and amazing I can learn. And there's so much joy in that. And yeah, I do feel like I got like when I was a kid, I loved learning about different cultures. And so this makes me feel like a child again in the best way. And I'm having such joy in learning things like a child. It makes me think that maybe this is like a fulfillment of scripture, you know, become like a child and then you'll have this amazing joy. I don't know. Anyway.
No, I love that idea. I love that idea. We were watching home videos on Sunday, and at the end of this one home video, there's a little clip of me. Or hopefully, okay, so if you have young kids at home, please make somebody in your family take some of the videos and pictures and have you be in them. Because I'm looking nothing. Because I'm the one that took all the videos. And so here's this one video of me, because I went and did this thing called the Volkslauf, and it's this mud run, this 5K, but it's with it's an obstacle course, and the Marines set it up, and it's super, super hard. It's very intense. And I don't know what possessed me, why I thought that I could do that, but I had just gotten into really good shape. I'd been exercising, like my kids were old enough, and I'd finally started, and I was just super pumped about this, and I was going to go do it. And there's like half of a mile is in a trench, and it's filled with water, and you're like running through that. People are losing their shoes, they're getting stuck in the mud. You're going up over the walls, like with the rope, and you have to have Marines help give you a step up, and rope walls, and under the barbed wire, doing the army crawl, and stuff. Anyway, but it was so much fun. It was so much fun. It was like being a little kid on the playground. Like, how there's nothing big enough to be an obstacle course for you as an adult. There's no climbing up. I just watched a video of my little granddaughter, and she's just sitting down to get down a step, but it's an outside rock step, and it took so much effort for her to just get down a step, right? We don't have that. We just walk down the step. So anyway, I did this mud run. At the end, the fire department hoses you down with a fire hose, and I got home, I walk in the door, and I'm just animated. I am so excited. I'm like, you guys, that was so much fun. I've got mud still in my ears and in my hair and just all over me. But I was just telling him about how awesome this was. But it was like, I felt like a little kid. And it was so much fun. The joy of something new and something, that you did something was so awesome. So I think that Well-Educated Heart brings these things back to us. We get to go outside and be super excited about seeing a butterfly, and exploring it or whatever it is, or a new story, or a piece of art, or whatever. So I love that about it. I love how it makes us come alive. Sorry, that was a lot of in your face excitement. Sorry, but I loved that. Can you tell? Sorry, I feel like my things are such explosions, and then it's like dead silence. Like, because everyone's going, okay, is she done? Okay.
We're not thinking that, Lori. That was wonderful. Something came through. One thing I'll share with you, Amber, is that Marlene has just gathered and presented for us in a really easy way principles and practices. And if you look at it that way, it's very simple and you don't have to feel overwhelmed about it. There are principles that teach us truths and that teach us how to do things, not how, but more like the why. The principles are teaching us why the mother is the best teacher, or why we inspire versus require, or why we're studying cultures, or why, like, that's more the whys. And then the practices will teach you what to do in order to get that learning and understanding. So I look at it as she has just broken down anything you could ever want to learn ever in 12 months. And you have this framework, like Cadence was saying, for what you want to learn is just broken up in 12 months, so you don't have to do it all at once. And it actually is very logical, and it makes a lot of sense because she has the US history as the spine. And so she goes through the timeline essentially. And then she links different countries to that to help you learn about the world. And so you're learning about cultures through the arts. You're learning through music and story and poetry, art and nature. And as you dive in and learn for yourself, then you get excited about it. And then that just spills out and you are excited to teach your children. And so that's like in a nutshell what Well-Educated Heart can do for you as a mom and how it can help you teach your children if you use the resources. But actually, you don't even have to use these resources. I feel like it's just kind of a start where you can, like Cadence said, they're rabbit trails. So you start there and then you want to go and explore whatever else, the sky's the limit.
That was so good. Do you know how many women have been trying to say that, Linnell? That's probably going to be a video on the Mothers of Influence page, on the Well-Educated Heart page, because that was so good. Wow, you have such a gift for that. So good.
I did want to say one more thing. I was
Yeah.
thinking about it, that at first I wasn't quite sure how to do it, and it felt kind of random to me. So I started doing one different topic each week. I'd pick something, and that really, and I had a certain outline of what I would do each day. I don't do that now because I don't need that, but I needed a little bit of, well, what can I even do to get started? And so I would do like, okay, we'll take YouTube tours on Monday, and we'll look at videos of the country, and on Tuesday we'll do something in our passports or writing, and I'd break up things up, movie on Friday, and that helped me get ideas of how to implement it. And now I don't have to stick to such a rigid thing because I just come up with stuff all the time, and I'll come up with ideas. So you can make something more, I mean, not too rigid, but thank you, son. But and then work from there, and it'll always change, and that's okay.
We were doing the thing. We were watching yesterday we watched the life of St. Patrick.
Oh, I love that. I love that you did that. Okay, so Amber, does that help?
Yes, it does. It kind of gives me some direction. It just was feeling, I guess, a little bit overwhelming at first, trying to dig through all of the information, and really, because I'm one that's like, I like things in, I don't know, I guess concise boxes where I can really just see, okay, this is the order, this is the structure, this is the whatever. And it was just, as I was digging through there, it was like, okay, I see this rabbit hole and I see this one. And I guess I just was trying to get the vision of the whole thing. But I love, Candace, what you said about it, you doing it for yourself, and really, like, that just hit it on the head for me. It was, I always said I wanted to be a lifelong learner, and I'd go back to school when my kids went back to school, but different plan. Now my kids are home and I'm teaching my kids at home, and that's, and that's great. But this, for me, this has kind of filled that gap where it's like, this allows me to be a lifelong learner still. And not to say that I needed something, I still do that on my own, but yeah, I love the principles and practices, and really just kind of, knowing that there's a lot out there, and I can just keep diving into it and doing it for me.
Mm-hmm. And she talks about, you go into this again every year. Every year you're going to hit these same, any of these topics in the rotation again, so you don't have to do it all at first. And I love that too, because there's no pressure there. And then just FYI, it's Cadence. just because we all,
Oh,
yeah.
thank you.
Yeah,
Sorry about that.
And she doesn't care, but I always want to know, I'm the person that will tell the stranger, hey, you got a little thing right here, like you want.
Yes, yes.
I just
I
did it
always say you're a
yesterday.
good friend if you do that.
Yes. And that's what I say. You know who your friends are, right?
Yes.
Because you don't want to go in the bathroom and go, oh my gosh, how many people saw this today?
Right.
Anyway, not like it's a big deal, but yeah. So the guy at AAA, I'm sure, was so grateful that I helped him pick the little white fuzz out of his hair. Melissa, you had a comment.
I just wanted to add kind of to what they've said. So I have a different perspective. I was introduced to Well Educated Heart because I for geography ideas, and people said, look up Well Educated Heart. And I looked at it and I was so confused because I was like, this isn't a geography curriculum. What is this? Why are people suggesting this to me? This makes no sense. And just kind of hung out and hovered for probably a year, just not understanding why people were suggesting it as a curriculum for geography. And I understand Marlene's planning. She meal planned seasonal foods. She took something that makes sense and went, oh, we have this food in spring, so we're gonna eat, leafy greens with salads. And we've got this, and she created a rotation that makes sense. So all the things connect. But you don't have to follow her meal plan. It doesn't have to be Mexican Mondays or Mexican May all year, all of May. She just laid it out in a way that was easy for you to find the meals and that made sense to her in a logical way. And so I know people on here hear me say this, but I look at it as a pantry. I don't follow the rotation. I don't own any of her books. I might one day, but I don't. I have lots of the stories that she tells in like picture books and stuff, but I haven't bought any of her books. I am not learning about birds this month. But I just take what I need from the pantry. This week, I was a week behind in my meal planning. We could study a country a week. And so we had paella and an Irish recipe this week. So we had, some Spanish food and some Irish food going along and tying those together and whatnot. And yeah, we're not learning about birds, but we've talked about, I don't remember, but we've talked about other stuff from previous months. And so, yeah, I just look at it as she's done a whole meal plan, and then you can pick the recipes you want when you want them, or you can follow her meal plan to a T. You can buy her recipe books. It doesn't matter. But she's laid it out in a way that's useful for everyone.
Thanks, Melissa. I love that. I love her pantry analogy, and she kind of covers the other ways of using Well Educated Heart if you're not doing just the rotation. That is so cool, you guys. Did you guys paint those? Anyway, so I love that. So thanks, Melissa, for adding that. I was hoping you were going to do that because it shows us different ways. It works different ways. Okay, so now Cadence and Melanie, you guys are having a little discussion. You guys stay and talk about this because Cadence, you know how to do it. You've been doing it. You know a way to do it. Let's say this, you know a way to do it because there's not one way. And if you could chat with Melanie for a few minutes just about this idea of some of the specifics. And Melanie, don't get yourself locked up because the thing you don't want to do is feel like there's a certain way that it's supposed to be done. And that's not true. And if that can cause you to hesitate and then not do anything because you're so worried that you're not going to do it right or something.
I think part of it is that I feel pulled in so many directions that, like, I've read a few pages of the imagination book. I've read a few pages of the birds book. I've read, I finished the whole Catch the Vision intro book, which is really short, but I finished it. And I started Delphian because there was a group of people that wanted to jump into that, but I don't think I'm really ready for Delphian. But I feel like, if I don't know. I guess I'm telling myself that I should be spending like 15 minutes a day reading this one and 15 minutes a day reading this one. And there's like 8 things on my list. And I think that's not the right strategy, but I'm trying to figure out what works well because, I chose some books to start a subscription for, and I think the birds one is the only one I've even cracked open. And I'm feeling like, these are the ones that I want to do, but I don't know. I'm kind of all over the place here, but I just feel pulled in too many directions. I'm having a hard time getting clarity on what I should do, I guess.
Do you have any of topics that you're interested in? Because you could pick just one thing. I know you're going to feel like you have to do something from each of these books every single month. Don't do that. You'll get overwhelmed. I have the imagination book. I've read like this much of it, okay? And the one page was fine. And like I've read a few things, but it may not be the right time this month. Come back to it next year. Whatever is interesting, do that. Whatever you feel like you could be interested in. And because you don't want to do it all at once, or you're just going to feel overwhelmed. There was a podcast I listened to that I posted that was really good, kind of talking about this concept of like there's just too many good things, and I feel overwhelmed picking them. Sorry, background noise. I'm forgetting what I'm saying. But yeah, so don't feel like you have to do it all at once. And it's not really a checklist, because we could check all the lists, we could read all the things, but if it isn't sinking in or affecting us, who we are, is it doing anything? Okay, just a minute. So I'm not sure if I'm answering your question. Do you want to talk about more of what you're doing right now? Or one thing that you could maybe focus on instead of all of them?
I think honestly, I'm every time I do have a chance to read for myself, I feel so split over so many of the options that I have that I'm just like overwhelmed and just don't pick up any of the books. I don't know.
Maybe that could also be a sign that maybe what you need right now is rest, because sometimes we put too much on ourselves trying to do things, and maybe that could be something too. Maybe you need a break, or I don't know the perfect answer for your situation.
I love that that's your response, Kaden, because I think the same thing, Melanie. There are times when you don't have to do any school. It's really weird for us to think that way if we grew up with public school, because we think, but it's a school day, 180 days, we got to log in. No, you don't. I never did. You're talking about learning. You're talking about lifelong learning. And all you need is to provide a warm, safe environment for you and your family, and teach them the gospel and help them be happy. That's all you need to do. Those are the basics, and you can get by with just that for a really long time. And then you can add in some education, for me, add in learning, add in things that you love. And I think on all of this, Cadence is saying you, but you're probably hearing my children. But Cadence is saying you every time. And I think she means you every time. That it's about what you love, what feeds you. Yeah, Melissa.
I think one of the best pieces of advice you can get on this is just follow the rabbit. Because that makes connections that stick. We learned about Norway one day after the Olympics last summer. So we had measured an Olympic swimming pool in our backyard, so my kids could see how big they were. And then we learned about Norway, and we found out that they do really well in the Winter Olympics. And so my kids had that connection of Norway is really good in the Winter Olympics because they like being outside even though it's dark and cold. Weird. And then they learned that Anna and Elsa are from that area. Oh my gosh, mind blown, right? And then they learned that trolls are in there because Norwegians have this huge troll fantasy, but I don't know what the right word is, but they love trolls. And then they learned that the song in the movie Trolls, that dun 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 dun, was from Norway about trolls, and their minds were blown. And so now they make so many more connections with Norway. They remember that lesson more than anything else because we follow just little rabbit trails about Norway. And then this week, I heard you could pop sorghum, and I've never tried that. And so I wanted to try it. So we went to the store and we got sorghum, and we got amaranth, and we got millet. And I haven't experimented with any of these. And I learned you can pop almost any grain. And so we did a science experiment where we weighed how much a tablespoon of each grain weighs, and then we popped it. And then we saw the volume of that afterwards. And then we weighed it again. And then we ate all these popped grains. And that was our science lesson this week. It had nothing to do with any of our curriculum. It created snack time. My kids had a ball, and it was just because I wanted to try some popped sorghum.
And that's the stuff your kids remember.
And they can't wait till next week. They want to do popcorn and buckwheat and something else next week. And just follow the rabbit trails. It doesn't have to be a big, organized, structured thing. My kids got all the scales and they got all the measuring stuff in the kitchen to measure how much volume there was in the popped grains, and they had
Right.
fun weights.
You're
and
not setting it up. You don't have to go get all the supplies or everything. If you put a little thing like that out there, your kids go do all the work because they're loving the exploring those things.
They notebooked and they showed their dad when he got home, and I just wanted popcorn or popped sorghum.
Right. So it started with something mom wanted. So Melanie, find something you want. Find something that feeds your heart right now. Wherever you are, whatever it is, something for Melanie. And then your family will benefit from that immensely, more than anything that you design, set up, structure, or whatever for them.
Yep.
So,
Find something and follow a rabbit trail for a week.
yeah, I love the rabbit trail thing. Yeah, Linnell.
I was reading what Amber said. Amber said the rabbit trail is such a foreign concept when all you've known is the public school model of education. I'm working on changing my mindset around this because I definitely see the value in it.
Yeah.
Before I commented, Amber, did you want to add anything else to that? Okay. Melanie, I reread your question and you asked, how do you find balance in principles versus rotation topics? And I was thinking about that. And an experience came to mind that I wanted to share with you. I had my yearly well exam coming up. And so I was trying to eat well and make sure my nutrition was okay so that my blood work would come back okay. And in the past, my cholesterol levels have been high. And so I was really conscious about it. I was like, okay, I'm pretty sure I'm doing a good job. I'm focusing on what I need to focus on. And I got my results back and it was way higher. And it was a moment of inspiration. The Spirit told me, this is what you're doing. It was pretty neat. But what was happening was because I was trying to eat more protein in my diet. So I was eating more eggs. But I was eating too many eggs. I was eating 3 eggs for breakfast every day. So if you count that, that's 21 eggs in a week. And the average healthy diet is 7 eggs in a week. So I was eating 3 times the amount of cholesterol that my body should have had. I realized that while focusing so much on the protein, I completely forgot about the cholesterol. And if I hadn't gone to do this yearly checkup, I probably would have been like I would have had a lot more health problems and not even realized it. So I wonder if your question is, how do I balance principles and philosophy versus rotation topics? I wonder if you can reevaluate where your focus is and if you can put into balance what you're focusing on. And if you're focusing too much on the protein, then you're going to completely neglect the cholesterol. And if you're focusing too much on the cholesterol or the fats or whatever. So what is it that your focus is on? Are you focusing on reading every single thing every day? Are you focusing on what your heart needs? Are you focusing on the children? Are you focusing, if there's too much to focus on, then you don't have the capacity for that. And so then I was looking at just a plant that I have here. And if you look at nature, so take a look at this plant right here. Can this flower take in more water than it has the capacity to take in? It's kind of a simple, obvious question, but no, you can't. So there's a limit to the amount that we can take in. And so you have to choose what you're going to allow to take in. And that's why what you're focusing on could be helpful. Because even if you wanted to take in 10 gallons of water, if you only need 2 milliliters, that's all you're going to be able to get.
And times and seasons too, because that really does make a difference. And being respectful of those and realizing sometimes your capacity right now might be just small, and that is completely fine, because the whole goal is for you to kind of hunker down, nurture, and feel good. But I love, Linnell, that you always go back to the original question. What is it she was asking? And, what are we trying to learn here? Go ahead, Cadence.
I was just gonna say, can we hear from Melanie and see where she's at, how she's feeling about all this, or is this even helping? What's on your mind?
Yeah, thank you everyone for all your comments. I'm realizing that one of my issues is that when I first started learning about Well-Educated Heart, I was starting to recognize the value of things like poetry and stories and stuff that I've just kind of pushed away and felt like that's not for me, and I can be okay with that not being for me. But I was starting to have my mind open to the value of it, and now I'm starting to appreciate the value of it, but I haven't really dived into them much yet to actually appreciate them for myself, if that makes sense. Like, I understand the idea behind diving into it. And so the fact that I'm seeing there are things that I'm not already interested in that I'm trying to push myself to be open to be interested in. There are so many things each month that Marlene has listed that these are some great things you could try to be interested in. And I'm really not interested in birds. But I'm trying to be open-minded to okay, maybe there's something interesting about birds that would be worthwhile learning. And so I'm trying to be so open-minded about all the things that I'm trying to do a little bit of all the things. And that's not good. And I think it's a valuable point to just find something that I am interested in first to try to get into this,
Yeah, good. Start with that. And then you can report back next week and let us know kind of how that worked for you and in the Marco Polo during the week,
All right, sounds good. You're gonna hold me to it.
Melissa.
So I already take what works for me and leave what doesn't, but poetry is not my thing. It hasn't been. So I didn't dive into poetry going, I need to learn this and figure it out and love it. I just watched the page, and occasionally somebody would share something about poetry and I went, oh, I love that. Or somebody shared something about birds this month and I was like, oh, I love that. I'm not studying birds this month, but I'm not closing off my heart to them either. And just being on the Facebook pages in this group exposed me to a lot of things that I felt cold to in the past. That doesn't mean I'm still driving up and giving them a hug and moving into their house. I'm just open to fun things about them or things that speak to me instead of having to dive into the topics. And that slowly warms my heart to those things. I'm less irritated by poetry now than I was a year ago.
That's so funny.
That I might consider memorizing one day.
Yeah, right. It's just slowly warming up. And then Amber asked you a question over in the chat, Melissa.
Oh, let me see. Just the Well-Educated Heart and Mothers of Influence Facebook pages. So yeah, Mother. I just keep the notifications open on those, and if I happen to be on Facebook, they'll pop up sometimes, and I'll go, oh, that's a wonderful thought.
Right. So something pops in your life that you wouldn't have seen otherwise. Yeah. Okay, ladies, you're wonderful. I have to give the camera to my husband. He's got a Zoom. So we share the camera. But it was so good. Thank you. And thanks everybody for just having open hearts and these wonderful friendships and supporting each other. Such a good thing. Have a good day.